Hey everyone, welcome back to Bytesector. Today we're talking hard drives. It's specifically our very first hard drive review on the channel, so let's dive in. So first off, a brief history of hard drives for those of you who don't know, don't care, or haven't really paid attention. We have our traditional SATA hard drive, 3.5 inch rotational. They come in sizes from, well, originally from 20 gigabytes and up, but these days you can usually find them as a common 2 terabyte to 16 terabyte drive in a system, typically used for large file storage like photos, Steam libraries, game libraries, whatever else you use it for, but large storage. Next on the list, we have our traditional 2.5 inch laptop hard drive. You'll find these in most laptops. Not the thinner ones, those are using something different, but traditional laptop hard drive. Then we have over here a 2.5 inch drive, typically found in the enterprise. They're SAS drives. They are significantly thicker. I would say more than double the thickness of a traditional laptop 2.5 inch drive. They rotate between 10,000 and 15,000 RPM compared to 5,400 as a typical laptop hard drive. Over here, we have our typical 2.5 inch SATA based SSD. This is solid state storage. The rest of these, they're rotational storage. They have their speed limitations as a result of rotational and seeking and hard, whatever. You guys get the gist. Seek times are stupidly low on these. They're 0.1 to 0.5 milliseconds compared to anywhere between 1 and 15 to 20 milliseconds on these, depending on your rotational speed, etc., etc. You'll typically find these in laptops, in desktops. Sizes range from anywhere between 60 and 2 terabytes. Most people are falling in the 250 to 500 gig range though, due to price point. That brings us into today's review. Today we're looking at the Western Digital Black SN750 NVMe SSD. It's a 1 terabyte drive. It comes with insane speeds, up to 3,470 megabytes a second read and up to 3,000 megabytes a second write speeds. And what I found most peculiar, or interesting rather, about this drive is up to about 550,000 IOPS read and write, which is incredible. Just taking a look at the drive aesthetically, it was definitely made for gamers. It comes in a matte black PCB. They've pasted the sticker on the front with your serial number and your size. We're going to plug it into our test bench. We're going to run some benchmarks. We're going to find out, does it live up to the speeds claimed by Western Digital? And is it something you should buy?
So we started with size off Sandra and ran the drive score for the SN750. Came out with a very respectable 3027.009. That compares to the 2250 score of the 960 Pro from Samsung. Next, we ran Crystal Disk Mark 6. We ran a few tests, sequential speeds first. We did a 1 gigabyte file. We did 5 runs to get a good average. As you can see, the Western Digital SN750 absolutely obliterated in the sequential write, scoring 2,892 megabytes a second, which just destroys the Samsung offering. It also had a sequential read of 3,277.2 megabytes a second, which, if you do the math right, is about 3.2 gigabytes a second. We also ran a random 4K IOPS test in Crystal Disk Mark and found that the read IOPS there were 432,662, which is respectable for any M.2 SSD, a bit lower than Western Digital's claims. The write IOPS were right up there with Western Digital's claims, coming in at 530,295.4 IOPS. Absolutely insane for random 4K IOPS. Getting into some real-world tests, we did a raw file copy and measured the speed at which it peaked at and also the time it took to copy the file. It was a 69.7 gigabyte file, which is a large file, single file. We found the peak write speed on the the SN750 to be 1749 megabytes a second, but we found that it took 1.38 seconds longer than the Samsung to copy that file to the SN750. And lastly, we did some game load tests, loading up World of Warships and World of Tanks. We took the average score of 5 launches of each game. As you can see, the SN750 in World of Warships came in at 0.00 or 0.05 seconds less, which is awesome, slightly faster than the Samsung, but it came in slightly longer for World of Tanks at 12.95 seconds on average.
So to get real, before we conclude this review, I ran all my benchmarks, I collected the results, and obviously they didn't completely line up with the claims made by Western Digital. So I reached out to Western Digital to ask them, am I doing something wrong? Have I not used the right NVMe driver in Windows? Did I not do something in the BIOS? Whatever else. Ultimately, they came back. There is a potential that the Spectre and Meltdown CPU vulnerability fixes that Microsoft has released potentially slowed down the system a bit. I wouldn't say that it should be responsible for 10 or 20% performance hit though. So I'm not sure about that, but that's one thing they raised. They raised some of the testing procedures I did. I did follow their recommendations. I did not come out with better results. On par with my previous results, I saw that the IOPS changed and suddenly the read IOPS were higher and the write IOPS were lower. In my initial testing, the write IOPS were much higher than the read. So I left it that way because that was an out-of-the-box, plug it into the system experience. I believe that is what you guys want from me, is what can I expect when I pull it out of the box, not what can I expect in the ideal scenario, real world or synthetic world. So that's why I let my results stand the way they are. I appreciate Western Digital being as understanding as they were with me. When I said I'm standing behind my results, I appreciate that you guys got different results in your test lab, but this is what I'm getting in the real world without fine-tuning the system, without prepping it and customizing it and doing things that the average consumer is not going to do. So, out of the box, this is a killer drive. It still blew away every other M.2 NVMe SSD that I've ever tested. Out of the box, we got just a hair under 3 gigabytes a second write. We got over 3.2 gigabytes a second read off this drive. We've got write IOPS that are over 500,000. Out of the box, no customizations. Absolutely insane, very impressive. The read IOPS were lower, down at 430 I think it was. Not where I wanted it to be. I would have expected read IOPS to be faster just by the nature of reading versus writing, but I'll take it. If it's going to write data faster than it's going to read, that's good. That's good for everyone. And at 1.6 to 1.8 gigabytes a second, I don't know if too many people are going to complain. The last thing we have to talk about, and we haven't touched on it yet, is price. How much is a 1 terabyte SN750 going to cost you? It's pretty amazing. Western Digital has done an amazing job hitting a price point of $250 US. That is getting close to pricing on a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive at 1 terabyte. So very impressive. That compares, I'm going to put it up against Samsung's 970 Pro 1 terabyte, which does not boast the same IOPS, does not boast quite as high a read and write speed as this SN750 does, and comes in at $350 US. So for $100 less, you get a drive that boasts higher IOPS, similar read and write speeds. What more is there to say? It's an awesome drive. It's got Bytesector stamp of approval. I highly recommend it as an NVMe M.2 SSD. They come in sizes up to 2 terabytes. We don't have the 2 terabyte model. I'm sure it performs just as great. There will be a heatsink version of it. I would expect around the same price, give or take $5 or $10. Either you can rush out today and buy one of these, or you can be patient and wait for the one with the heatsink. Either way, you're gonna get a great SSD. If you like this video, guys, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you know when we release future videos. If you didn't like it, give us a thumbs down, leave us a comment, tell us what we can do better, or leave us a comment and tell us what you liked. Have a great night.